You can start.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inshallah, today we will be discussing the 12th word. And we will be starting from the third principle. I'll make a small dua and then we will start reading. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya Hayy ya Qayyum bi rahmatika astaghith. أصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفة عين. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد. Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen, and we are continuing to talk about how is the philosophical approach, what is the philosophical approach to understanding ourselves, and what is the Quranic approach. And as a reminder, the verse that the word starts with is, whoever is given great wisdom is given great good, or whoever is given wisdom is given great good. You can find a verse at the beginning of the word. All right, so the third principle. The training, philosophy, and science and Quranic wisdom give to human social life is this. Philosophy accepts force as its point of support in the life of society. Again, philosophy accepts force as its point of support in the life of society. It considers its aim to be benefits. The principle of its life, it recognizes to be conflict. It holds the bond between communities to be racialism and negative nationalism. Its fruits are gratifying the appetites of the soul and increasing human needs. However, the mark of the force is aggression. The mark of benefit, since they are insufficient for every desire, is jostling and tussling, while the mark of conflict is strife. And the mark of racialism, since it is nourished by devouring others, is aggression. It is for these reasons that it has negated the happiness of mankind. So here, philosophy is being presented as soon as you accept force as the point of support in the life of society, it shapes everything else. So if you think about it, by force, it means that things are not happening in order. They're not happening in a way that it is beneficial to everybody, that you actually have to impose or, push things in a way to happen in a certain way. You assume that you have so much control or so much ability to move things around in the way you want them to. At least that's my understanding of the word force. So in this situation, it makes sense that for the author to say the principle of its life, it recognizes to be conflict. Because if you think that you have the ability to move things in a certain way, then you're going to have to fight, or you're going to have to sort of be in everybody else's business in order to get what you want. I think the question I can ask you here is, how would this feel to you? Or how are you reading this paragraph? Okay. Well, if you think of, go ahead, Brother Ali.
If you are going to make some more comment on the first paragraph,
No.
or to hear you first, and then if I have something, we can share. I can share, inshallah.
I'm done.
You are done.
Yes.
I thought, but I raised my hand just because I thought you may pass to the following paragraph, because I have something to share as it happened to me.
Please go ahead.
Might is right. What is this? Very non-revelation based society. That is what this text says, philosophy. Philosophy, nothing to do with, as it is used in the common sense, philosophy of somebody, the philosophers. No, ordinary man, even uneducated man, may have some sort of life understanding, which is philosophy. Yeah, non-revelation based society or understanding. Yeah, understanding is better. Now, here, how it reflects in the society. So, might is right is the slogan of these societies. That's why everybody is struggling to get strength. Although the force translated here, it is better to understand it, maybe translation it with strength. The stronger you are, more successful you are. This is what this society is based on, the non-revelation based understanding. These are these are their main principles. That's why let everybody work for the best, so it will end up with the better society. I mean, let's say culturally, yes. Culturally, yes. Labor-wise, yes, work more. It doesn't mean that you will have more power, you will be stronger, so that you can raise your voice in the society. You can look as if you are right. For example, celebrities, rich people, politically active people are more influential in the society, where non-revelation based understanding. So it means not according to a guide from Allah, from God. What they do now, for example, in a society, if you are not rich, who follows you? Who cares you in these societies? Whereas in Islamic society, or as it is described here, the students of the Quran, there is no difference between the highest level in the society, in the administration system, has the right as much as you and me. He can't, or these people cannot have any superiority as far as strength is concerned. But if you don't notice this, what happens at the end? As a result of the difference between Quran-based understanding and non-revelation, not Quran, not Bible, not non-revelation Torah-based understanding, because they are somehow, how much they may not have been preserving their real message, but still somehow revelation-based understanding, God-oriented understanding. So we have to respect it. May not be perfect understanding, but we have to respect it. We are in so-called Muslim communities hate Jews and therefore never pay any attention to Torah teaching. Why? They are Jewish book. But if someone says Quran is Muslim's book, we say, no, Quran universal message. But if you speak to Jews, they will definitely say that Torah is God's message to the people altogether. Yeah. So, I mean, this is nothing but ignorance. So what it results in, this conflict. What is the conflict? Racial conflicts and also mixed religious understanding, any religious understanding, not clear which kind of religious principles they are following, mixed with racial. For example, I know you were born in Egypt. I will give Egypt example. Egyptian way of understanding Islam. Look, not Egyptian way of architecture. That is different. Egyptian way of understanding Islam, and also Turkish people are very sensitive about it. Turkish Islam, very, very famous expression, because I was born in Turkey, I know, Turkish Islam. Iranian Islam, Afghani type of Islam. These are also racism. Although they have the the word of Islam in it, it doesn't justify, because it is race-based description. Therefore, I am more powerful, much better than Iranians, much better than Shia people, much better than Christians, claims upon claims upon claims. But you can say, we have to say, Quran is much better than Torah, correct. I agree. As a student of the Quran, I agree. I mean, I can make somehow a comparison between Torah teaching and Quran teaching, but those people who identify their Islam with somehow dirtied, mixed up with other elements rather than Islam, but turning into Muslims, we Muslims, no, that is your personal understanding of it, may not represent Islam or may represent Islam mostly partially. We have to be realistic. If someone says, I am a Muslim, do you think in a society, in the Muslim community, he or she has more right than any other person because he is a Muslim? Not at all. I can see your face. Yeah, not at all. That is what we are not aware of it. So without knowing that, we may think we are following Quran without knowing really what the Quran is teaching. If we knew it, we wouldn't fall into this mistake, but we don't study the Quran. We just follow culture. So usually nowadays, there are definitely exceptions, but we must accept. We must be realistic. We don't know what the Quran is talking about, really. But that is a difference. There is a difference. I must make it. We know what Musaf includes in it. Now, what is written there? No, what is written in Musaf has nothing to do with what Quran, Kalamullah, Allah speaks. This is just intellectual learning, studying the Musaf, reading the Musaf, learning what is there is intellectual learning. That is the problem that Muslim community is suffering from. We are mixing with intellectual learning that then trying to be an addressee of Kalamullah, God's speech. Or it needs special training. When this text talks about the students of the Quran, it means they are the addressees of God's speech to them. Their mind, their feelings, their spirit, including their ego, or trained by God's speech before God. For example, when I read in the Mus'haf one sentence, I will take it as my Creator is speaking to me now. What I have done now, separated Mus'haf from Quran. We miss this point. When we miss this point, what do we now? We assume Muslim identity. It means it is just an identity, so that I claim with. When I claim with, I am out of Islam. Yeah, I mean, not denier. No, don't go to extreme. I am out of the teaching of Islam. Yeah, I became only a community which identifies themselves with a title. We don't know what it means really, but we know what Muslim means. Submits his mind, submits his feelings, submits his whole being to the Creator of the universe only, doesn't identify with anything else. This is my culture, this is my understanding, that is what I learned from my family, or that is what we do in our community. These are all trash language. This is nothing to do with Islam. That is why we are under the influence of, as this text talks about, philosophy. Even in our understanding of religion, we are under the influence of philosophy. It means political identity took over everything. Political identity means really not party politics. Community's identity, we are Muslims. They took over the teachings of the Quran, and especially really exemplary life of the Prophet out of it. So what we have to do now, what we are now in the position, combining this way or another way of racist understanding of the teachings of the Quran, and claiming with my culture together, mixed up, if you like, mixed up with my culture. Then we cannot represent what Quran says. Everybody here to help in general without claiming any superiority over anybody. Anything. Without claiming any superiority on anybody, any other part of the world. For example, we don't identify, we have to be careful, this kind of, if you like, deviation from Quranic teaching. We usually identify ourselves with Islam, not mu'min. Why? Mu'min, the believer, is much larger umbrella. without making any distinction between Muslim, Christian, Jew, anything. Believing as much as you believe, that is your value, not what you claim. That's what Quran always talks about, what? Believers. Quran never uses Ya ayyuhal Muslimun. Why? There is no such thing. But Muslim, as in English, we express it with lowercase m, lowercase m, and Muslim with lowercase, higher, uppercase m doesn't exist. Lowercase m. We have to be, if you read the Quran, not the Musaf, the Quran, while reading the Musaf, you have to read the Quran. Quran means really Kalamullah, speech of God. If you read the Quran, you will never find Muslim at all with uppercase M. In Hadith narrations also, always uppercase, lowercase m. If you are just to this small, very minute matter, I mean, as far as the amount is concerned, if we take into our mind that in the Quran, it is just minuscule m when Muslim is mentioned, then our worldview completely will change. Be careful about it, try it. I tried, it worked. Be careful and try it, it worked. So that we are, what are we doing now? Being proud of our community. No, we have to be proud of Iman, which is personal between you and God. Understood? And apply it in your life. Personally, you apply it. Personally means you have to take care of your responsibility within the community and don't expect any benefit from the community. So if you don't expect any benefit, material or supporting your honor or something, being a better man, leader or somebody, then you start what? You become aware that you have no power over others, just suggestions you can make. It means in the Quran, the Quran continuously reminds the prophets what? You have nothing to do with others except delivering the message, tabligh. But look, in this position, what the Quran is doing now, Quran is doing, Quran takes all claims of power over others. Why? You have to say, and that's it. You have to deliver the message, and that's it. You cannot force. You see why philosophy is based on force, whereas the Quran is not based on force. Yeah, truth. What is truth? Deliver what you have got from God, from Allah, what you have received, revelation from Allah to you, deliver others. No way to claim any power on anybody else. Even you can be the caliph. You cannot force anything, your idea. What do? You just apply Allah's rule. That's it. To whom? To everybody equally. Everybody equally. We see only through, during the four caliph period, the caliphs had no personal power whatsoever on others. What did they do? That is Allah's rule, nothing to do with me. Did you get the difference? Because when we are not aware of this very crucial point, we take a lot of positions. We are the defenders of truth, etc. But on this, I have to defend the truth. With this claim, what do? We go beyond the limits of tabligh. Start using our power of knowledge, our power of money, our power of military power, etc., applying on other people. It is very dangerous. Our power of, for example, I am a very pious man. I pray day and night, and etc., etc. So I have more right to do something over the people, over others. You can have no more right than the prophets, and Allah keeps reminding them in the Quran, your duty is nothing but وَمَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Yep. We keep this type of exactly may not be, but different paraphrasing of the same concept in the Quran. I don't know, maybe hundreds of times. Why? Hey, don't use force. You cannot utilize your strength because you received revelation from God, from me. No. I have all the power, you have nothing. Unfortunately, if you go and ask, do you want the Muslim community to become militarily more powerful? Oh, who says no? Nothing to do with it. Have you heard this at all? Why? There is a big deviation from Quranic teaching in the community. We have to be really alarmed, not only careful, alarmed about it. This distinction is extremely important. Never force. Yeah, never force. La ikraha fid din. Never force. You cannot really impose your power or anything about anybody. That's it. Only what the Sharia puts the rule, the person who is responsible for the execution of the rule, they will execute the rule because it is the responsibility, not because it is personal power. I am using my personal initiation. I am using my personal preferences. Never, ever. This is important. That's why I spoke a lot. This is my impressions. Somebody may not agree with it. Most welcome. But I see this disease very prevalent in the Muslim society, and not many people are aware. That is why I took off your time. Thank you very much. A lot of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate clarifying that philosophy's non-revelation based understanding. It will make even more sense when we start studying the Quranic perspective. All right, I'll continue to the second paragraph, and it will be, and Brother Ali already sort of oriented us to what the paragraph is about to tell us. So as for the Quranic wisdom, its point of support is truth instead of force. And if you guys can start thinking of what truth might mean until we arrive to the end of the paragraph so that we can discuss it together. It takes virtue and God's pleasure as its aims in place of benefits. So it's not about benefits, it's not about material gain, it's only virtue and God's pleasure. And I'm sure it's not referring to the egoistic sense of virtue and God's pleasure. It's more to the humble attitude of, virtue and God's pleasure. It takes the principle of mutual assistance as the principle of life in place of the principle of conflict. So instead of me trying to get more strength, I'm actually trying to help more. And it takes the ties of religion, class, and country to be the ties bonding communities. So instead of classifying or categorizing people to point out differences, instead we will try to become more of a bonding community. Its aim is to form a barrier against the lusts of the soul, urge the spirit to sublime matters, satisfy the high emotions. And urging man to the human perfections, making him a true human being. So every person is trying to accomplish to become a true human being or an authentic person. And the mark of the truth is accord. The mark of virtue is solidarity. The mark of mutual assistance is hastening to assist one another. The mark of religion is brotherhood and attraction. And the mark of reining in and tethering the soul and leaving the spirit free and urging it towards perfection is happiness in this world and the next. So here the concern is actually this world and the next. The concern moved from gaining something or benefiting from society or from the community to just looking for. I'm a little hesitant about God's pleasure because it's a confusing term, but like I feel like the aim here is to be humble enough to understand that, okay, I don't really own anything. I'm not the creator of anything. No matter how much strength I get in this world, it doesn't reflect in my happiness in this world or the next. So instead, I will try to accomplish to become a true human being or try to be an authentic human being. Instead of following the lusts of the soul, it's to actually reminding myself of the true reason or the real reason for my existence and for my life in this world. Any thoughts about here? Did any of you find a meaning for the word truth? Can you see any wisdom in this? I see a comment in the chat box. It is a detail, but might confuse us. What does the author mean when he says religion, class, especially country, as the ties of community? How is it different than racialism and nationalism? Looks like very similar. So my understanding is when it comes to racialism and nationalism, it's creating the sense among people that, okay, you belong to a particular race, and this particular race has a particular place in the hierarchy of other races. Therefore, you should, treat this race in a particular way and then treat other races in a different way. That's my understanding of racialism or racism or nationalism, is that you have that sense of like, I belong to this group of people, so I'm the best. Or I belong to this group of people and we're not really the best. When he's saying religion, class, and especially country as ties bonding communities, I'm imagining he's he's referring to the idea that there's no such thing as race. There's no such thing as, privileged race versus unprivileged. It's just that, we are accepting the diversity, and we're not going to take it as a point of power, or we're not going to claim it as something more. We're not going to use it to our advantage. In a way, that's my understanding. If someone else has a different understanding. I saw a hand, but then it went down. If you change your mind and you want to speak again, let me know. Brother Ali, go ahead.
That was me.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about truth in terms of like the truth of our creation. So I guess when one recognizes that all our qualities are created and given to us, and everyone else is also, being given existence, and their qualities are not theirs as well, then that feeling of wanting to dominate over one another, can't really exist, because nothing is ours anyway. So that's the way I was thinking about it.
Thank you for that. That's a helpful way of understanding it. Okay, go ahead, Brother Ali.
Thank you. Of course, community is very important, but there is a but. This community must have a human community sharing same values. If you like, use the word truth as the paragraph's main word is truth. Now, our point of support must be truth. So based on truth, we can establish our community without confusing with other. You touched on it as the moderator, without confusing with any other element. Truth. Why is it so abstract term? It means we cannot put a boundary in our community. That is what Islamic understanding of administration. Islamic understanding of administration, there is no boundaries, such as everybody has a boundaries. Every nation state has a boundary, has their own boundaries in this world now, in the present world now. But in Quranic terms, there is no boundaries. Whoever comes here and whoever goes out there is free. Why? Because in fact, although the ties of the community is the truth only, nothing else, but this truth is a human value. What do I mean by human value? Because just the true human beings communicate with each other on the basis of truth, not on the basis of anything. For example, we keep hearing nowadays everywhere among Christians, among Muslims, among Jews, they say we have to take care of our Jewish brothers. We say, they are like this. But Muslims also, take care of your Muslim brother, take care of your Muslim community. But it says, true human being, not such a political identity. In Islam, if you are really careful about it, there is no political identity. As it is, some people say we are Afghanis, we are Palestinians, we are Turkish, we are Arabs, this kind of things. That never exists in the truth. Because being Afghani, being Egyptian, being Turkish, being whatever American has no value whatsoever because you are created there without your choice by the will of God. Nothing to do with you. You may be created in a Muslim society, Muslim family. You may be created as an atheistic society. Nothing to do with you. You have to base your values on truth. How do we understand this from Quranic wisdom? Quranic wisdom is very clear, although we don't want to see it, but it's very clear. Do you have any verse in the Quran? We know that the Quran emphasizes on the importance of helping others. Correct? All right. But we understand this helping others only in material sense, bodily helping or helping the body health, nourishment, protection, clothing, etc. Yeah, we understand from there, but the Quran never specifies this at all. Amwal means in the Quran property. Property means what Allah has given you as a human being, not as a material things. We restricted this property, the term property, mal, plural amwal, in the Quran to material things, but we are human beings, man. Don't forget. This is comedy. This is so restricted. What value you get from your flesh? Nothing. Put it in the grave and it rots there. Your mind is your property. Your eye is your property. Your knowledge is your property. Your feelings are your property. You have to spend all this for the sake of God. It is, you said, you don't it is difficult to understand what is pleasure of God, but it is not, let's not confuse the subject right now. It means in the name of his honor, that is pleasure of God. Don't claim God's property as your property. That's it. It may include your material property as well. It is God's property. Originally he created it and gave it to you. You didn't create it. You asked and he gave it to you. You understand? It's very simple. God's pleasure means using whatever you are given by God in the name of God. In the Quran, we never see any verse asking us to give property to your Muslim brothers, sisters at all. What are we going to do then? Help needy. Yes, we are so materialistically minded people. Needy means for us, poor doesn't have money to feed his body. It never occurs to us, needy means somebody is poor to feed his spirit, his understanding, his human side, his feelings. That is essential human needs. What are we missing from the Quran is so much, you cannot list it. Quran never says feed some or help, give zakat, give sadaqah to somebody who is your Muslim brother. But he says, yes, your relative, yes. But needy in your relatives, needy in your neighborhood, needy in a larger neighborhood, needy if there is no needy in these three circles. Now, needy you hear about, but We are more concentrated on needy, what we hear about what? Only matter, only bodily need. For example, you know that if you know that somebody is needy because he doesn't really feel confident in his belief, why he believes in the Quran, why should he believe in the prophethood, why it is true. They are essential needs which has eternal, infinite extension. Bodily need is a temporary thing. What must be given the priority? To the needy, whoever he is. That's why a true human being consists of the society which consists of a society which consists of a true human being has no political identity. Only truth is their identity. Only truth. This is excellent, but unfortunately, we need to work on it. Unfortunately, we make distinction. Our brothers, our sisters, our society. That is philosophical. Out of the teachings of the Quran. That is because of this lack of being aware of the Quranic wisdom, we reduced help to only bodily need. Why? We don't get the wisdom of the Quran so that we will understand what Quran means when it says, Ya ayyuhan nas, Ya ayyuhal mu'minun. Never says, Ya ayyuhal muslimun. There is no such thing. Ya ayyuhal mu'minun. If you believe in God, then you are a mu'min. Billah. How about other needs? What? Min bil akhirah, min bil risale, min bil qadar. Yeah. Believer in angels. What are they for? Why do you believe them? We may not be aware of it, which is mostly the case. We are missing a lot from the wisdom of the Quran. That is why we are heavily concentrating on bodily care. For example, there is an earthquake somewhere. Oh, of course we have to help. But your brother in the same family, your sister, your parents in the same family are not aware of the teachings of the wisdom of Quran. Do we do anything? Do we struggle anything? Do we organize anything to help people? How can we teach people why the Quran says you should believe in angels? How should we do that? Excuse me, even we ourselves, trying to organize charity organizations are not aware why we believe in angels, in hereafter. That's just for taking for granted cultural information. This human-based understanding of community in Islam is peerless in history. Never witnessed such thing anywhere apart from for Caliph and the Prophets period. Nowhere. Still, even the Muslim communities are not really close to it, this awareness, unfortunately. These are truth-based society. incredible to understand. Truth-based society never existed apart from four caliph period. Assalamu alaikum. I may be really depicting a very disappointing, very pessimist picture. No, we have to wake up. Somebody has to say it because we don't hear it. If we don't hear it, it doesn't occur to us. And rightly, we don't see the teachings of the wisdom of the Quran in this way. Unfortunately, that is why somebody has to say it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you. I see a couple of comments in the chat box. Okay, so I think commenting on what Brother Ali was saying, we are a nation of Ibrahim as Quran defines. It is a one level of tie as far as I understood. What Brother Ali just said is a very good example of reading Quran with the lens of philosophy, understanding need as only materialistic. And finally, expanding these definitions is very liberating. It liberates us from lines of divisions in society and calls us to treat everyone as human beings, inclusive of all their human qualities. It's not we Muslims and everyone else on the other side, but we're all human beings looking for our purpose. Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you for your reflections. Well, that was the end of the third principle. We can start reading the fourth principle, and then inshallah we'll continue talking about it next week. If you want to understand the Quran's superiority among all the divine scriptures and its supremacy over all speeches and writings, then consider the following two comparisons. The first, a king has two forms of speech, or two forms of address. One is to speak on his private telephone with a common subject concerning some minor matter, some private need. The other, under the title of sublime sovereignty, supreme vicegerent, and universal rulership, is to speak with an envoy or high official for the purpose of making known and promoting his commands. To make an utterness through an elevated decree proclaiming his majesty. Okay, so here the author is starting to compare or to, explain why the Quran has earned the title Word of God. So the first comparison he gives us is, okay, you have two forms of speech. One is to speak on a private telephone with a common subject, just for a small thing, for something private. But the other, under the title of sublime sovereignty, is to speak with an envoy or high official for the purpose of making known his commands. So it's like he's talking to someone who's very important for a very particular purpose, and that purpose is to promote his commands, to make an utterness through an elevated decree proclaiming his majesty. The second, one man holds the mirror he is holding up to the sun. Okay. And here mirror is not the same, mirror is used differently than it's been used in different words. He receives light containing the 7 colors according to the capacity of the mirror. he becomes connected to the sun through that relation and converses with it. And if he directs the light-filled mirror towards his dark house or his garden covered by a roof, he will benefit, not in relation to the sun's value, but in accordance with the capacity of the mirror. So if we can visualize this, a man is holding a mirror to the sun, and he's receiving light as much as the mirror can hold. So whatever the mirror is receiving, he's benefiting from it, but he's not benefiting from the entire sun. Another man, however, opens up broad windows out of his house or out of the roof over his garden. So the other man is opening up his windows. He opens up ways to the sun in the sky. He converses with the perpetual light of the actual sun and speaks with it, and says in gratitude through the tongue of his disposition, O you beauty of the world, who glides the face of the earth with your light and makes the faces of the flowers smile. So here he's acknowledging that the face of the earth is filled with light and the faces of the flower is smiling. O beauty of the skies, fine sun, you have furnished my little house and garden with light and heat, the same as you have them. So here the other man is receiving everything from the sun as much as the sun is created to give. Whereas the man with the mirror cannot say that. The reflection and the works of the sun under that restriction are limited. They are in accordance with the restriction. Look at the Quran through the telescope of these two comparisons and see its miraculousness and understand its sacredness. We won't be able to do that today because of the time, but we can just think of that analogy and maybe anticipate what that could mean when describing the Quran's sacredness or miraculousness. But if anybody wants to share any ideas here or any questions or any feelings, go ahead. Is the analogy clear so far? Just let me, a simple yes or no is suffice. So these are two approaches to the Quran? That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm going to save it till next time. I'm going to actually write it here so we can start from it. So these two approaches, let me give this the, these are the two approaches. There we go. We have it here. Thank you for that. Okay. I'm sorry that I'm leaving you with so many questions. But inshallah, next week we can talk about it. Before I close with a dua, does anybody want to say anything? No? I think no. It is Quran and other kinds of speeches. Okay. I'll keep it a mystery. All right. Thank you very much for today. I hope there was something beneficial or something you're left to think about. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim.